Hey, it's Matt Pinfield, and this show is called In a Lonely Place. Um, as I say every day, it's because I live alone. We're practicing social distancing, and obviously we miss the people we love. We like to be next to them. Man, I just like to be next to somebody in a restaurant or anywhere. But the thing that's getting us through is staying in touch with the people we love and the music that is so important to us. In a Lonely Place was a song by the Smithereens with Suzanne Vega, based on a Humphrey Bogart movie from 1950. That's why I named it that way. But I'm really excited because we're doing this now 5 days a week, and my guest today is we couldn't be closer. We're brothers, really. Sometimes when I'm in Jacksonville, I would stay at his house, and we took this journey together. So I'm so happy. One, to say that the latest album, The Things We Can't Stop, is so amazing. And he's got the #1 active rock record in America right now with Breaking Benjamin. So I thought it'd be a perfect time to catch up with one of my favorite people in the world, Scooter Ward. Scooter, what's up, man?
Hey, brother, how are you?
Yeah, man, I'm good, man. I'm just so happy to see you. I was thinking about when you and I met, when I first interviewed you, when M2 was like, and actually Jacksonville was one of the few places that actually carried it in the very, very beginning. And we all met. We were waiting to go to this place called, was it Barmacy? The place that was the weird, or was it the one that was like the barber shop? Because there were these two bars in New York City on 14th Street, and one had all these fucking bizarre they actually had them in glass, weird medications. In St. Augustine, they have those in the old drugstore there. And all
Yeah.
Like meat, blood, just the most bizarre shit,
I don't remember what place we were going to that night. I was probably feeling pretty good at that point by the time we decided on where to go. So
yeah, we were, it was the interview was 10, 11 in the morning. And we got there, man. We were all sitting on the street. And it was kind of cool because 14th Street, New York City is never that quiet.
Yeah, right.
So, we were there, and it wasn't insane. So it was a really cool way to meet you.
Yeah.
And our friendship has taken us all over, man. And
I don't think people understand how close we are. You've eaten at my parents' house. You stayed at my place for a long time.
Yeah, man. I stayed at your place. Your mom and dad, and your sister. And, and that's when you love your friends. That's what it's about. You know what I mean? So
for that,
and that's our Jacksonville connection. I was thinking recently, that Millions thing that's on right now about the whole scam of stealing the millions of dollars because of the Monopoly game pieces. Have you seen that thing?
I haven't seen that yet.
It's crazy. It's on HBO. But I will just quickly say that FBI building, I would drive by it all the time to take.
Right. I started watching that. It was the FBI located in Jacksonville. I was like, oh, that figures.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Scooter, man, Cold has had an amazing run and is still doing so much. And nothing could do my heart better than you having a #1 record right now.
Yeah.
And that's really about the relationship you have with people, like with Ben from Breaking Benjamin, and doing that thing. But talk to me about how you got into music in the first place. Because I know you like so many different things.
Music for me, man. When I first started getting into music, I was really little. I was 4 or 5, and my mom used to watch soap operas as she was doing housework and stuff. Soap operas would always be on the TV in the afternoon.
Yeah.
There was something so beautifully tragic about the soap opera melodies that they played at the beginning. For some reason, they had the perfect songs, just the piano work. And so we had a piano in the house, and I started mimicking the songs, trying to play the songs, and I'd learn all the soap opera songs. And I think the reaction that I got off of that, from people coming over and being like, play that song, it was a thing. And it just carried on, and it made me want to perform with people. So piano was the first thing I started. And then my next door neighbors gave me a guitar, and Sam McCandless, our drummer, he lived a couple blocks away from me, and he was like the dopest drummer in Jack's Beach, right? And he's this real cool kid. You know, we neither one of us had a lot of friends, but I would always skateboard by his house every afternoon because I'd hear the drums he'd be playing in his garage, and I'd skateboard by his house and just hoping he would say something to me like, "Hey kid, what's up? You know, we could be friends." And one day I think we were at school or something, and he came up and he was like, "Hey man, you got a guitar?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just got one." And I didn't know how to play anything. The only song I knew how to play was like a 2-string lead from "I Will Follow" by U2.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Not a bad first thing.
Yeah, but I was so intimidated because he was such a good drummer. And we finally went over there and we started playing stuff, and we'd play old Cult covers, things like that. And we just kind of started from there, you know, started playing parties. And the first band we were ever in was called Six Gun. And the most hilarious thing was we had 2 guitarists and Sam and a singer. And we didn't even have a bass player. And we honestly didn't care or even acknowledge that we needed a bass player. We had played a couple parties and everybody was going crazy. Pits were starting. People were having a great time. And it just kept growing. And then somebody came up to us one night and was like, "Hey, you know, it'd be great if you guys got a frickin' bass player. It'd help a lot." We were like, "Oh, yeah. That'd be good."
Hey, the Doors, you know, they had bass players on their albums, but they, you know, they never had one live, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
so that's when Jeremy came in, and you know, that kind of all just that was the missing piece. That's when we were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe we've been doing this for a year and a half with no bass player." So it was funny, but we were young kids from Jack's Beach and 13, so
the amazing thing is, like, when you think about our friends like Damon Starkey and, you know, all those guys like Bobby, and everybody starts really young in Jack's. Like, it's all about music. It's always been an amazing music town, man. Like, people don't realize the Classics 4, who did Traces, Spooky, Stormy, all those great songs back in the 60s. Were from Jack's, obviously, and, you know, Skinner, of course, you know, and then of course took off. But there was, you know, there are friends, obviously, but it blows me away, you know, that it's always been this really warm town for music. You know what I mean? At the same time, you know, it has a competitive thing like everywhere else, right? So, you know,
it was never as competitive as I think bigger cities, but it was a thing. You know, everybody always just kind of joined in to play shows together, and I don't think the competition started till we got a little older. So we were like in our, you know, early 20s or something like that. That's when everything started a little more serious. Yeah. But it was all good fun, man, the whole time. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I love that city, and I just feel like, you know, obviously I have a family there, and you're my family, and but, you know, it's just it's got an incredible history.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. It was a great place to grow up.
So, talk to me about how you ended up making your first record. Like, what was the catalyst to doing that?
Well, and okay, so we had gotten, you know, we had moved to Atlanta from Jacksonville to kind of take over that scene. We wanted to go there and, you know, do as well as we did in Florida. So we get to Atlanta, and it turned out, you know, that was around the REM days and stuff. And the cool place to play was in 5 Points in Atlanta. And so we just figured, you know, we played everywhere in Jacksonville. We could just go get a show here. So we go to get a show, and we were way too Soundgarden-y grunge for that type of scene. So they didn't really want us to play there. We kind of had a hard time getting shows. It took us months. Like, we would play like shows where there was nobody there. I remember one show we were playing, and the dude was literally, there was one person there, and it was the guy sweeping the floor. Like,
oh man, so, it was like a rite of passage for bands. They've gone through.
It happened so much back then that we got so, you know, we started just going, okay, if this is going to happen, then we're just going to use it as a practice in a different arena for us. You know, it's like we're practicing for the big shows one day. So we didn't take offense to it, and we just kept doing it. And, you know, slowly things built and became better. The funny thing about the Atlanta situation was, because they wouldn't really allow us to play in 5 Points at the time, is they put us at this place out in
Buckhead or one of those areas, or
further than Buckhead. It was like out in Norcross.
Marietta or something like that? Or?
Yeah, kind of Marietta, and it was called Magruders. And we started playing with this band every weekend called Crawl Space, and it was Seven Dust.
Yeah, and guys are the best. Great guys.
We were a heavier band; they were a heavier band, so we would play with them often on the weekends. And it just became that was our jam. We'd play there on the weekends, and eventually we got to play the shows in 5 Points, and things started doing well, and we had a good time, and it was a great experience for us. However, I had gotten sick there with Crohn's disease, 25 years old, and started getting really sick, and I couldn't move, and I was, I didn't really know what I was going to do with my life. I became so sick that I just kind of laid down. I got an apartment, and I thought I was going to die, so I just kind of went away. I quit the band and kind of hid out, just thinking, okay, the doctors couldn't find out what was wrong with me. Back then, Crohn's disease wasn't as big a deal as it is now. Now it's not as, there wasn't a lot of studies on it, so they were wondering what was going on. And so I kind of sat in that apartment thinking I was just going to die. And then my parents flew out from Jacksonville, got me, they saw how sick I was, they took me back home. I had gotten back there, I finally found a doctor that found out what it was and started helping me with it. And Sam moved from Atlanta back to Jacksonville. He moved back home. And he was like, dude, I came back. We got to keep this going. So we started playing again. And it was just me and Sam and a guy named Pat Lawley that started a band called the Diablos. And we had written a bunch of the songs that were on the first record. And a couple had extended from the time we were in Atlanta, like Ugly and things like that. But one day, I remember the day I was going to quit music. I was about 26 years old, and I had tried my whole life, and I was like, man, I'm giving up. I had an opportunity to go be at a turf school and start a new career, and the guy at the golf course wanted to pay for it, so I was signing up for that the night that Fred Durst called. And I had never spoken to Fred at that point, but I had been friends with Wes and John and everybody, played with Wes many times. Grown up with those guys, but I really didn't know Fred that much. But then Fred hit me up one night, the night before I was going to go to turf school, and said that, he goes, hey man, you still writing sad songs? And I go, of course. He goes, well, we had gotten a record deal and Ross Robinson's in town. And he goes, I don't know what you're doing tonight, but maybe you could bring an acoustic over and play a couple songs for him. And I went to Fred's house, and like I said, I really didn't know Fred that well, but Wes and them were there, so I felt comfortable. And Ross was there and sat down, and we all had a couple drinks, and I sat down and played Ugly for him. And I think by the time I got to the end of the first chorus of Ugly, Ross was like, stop. And I go, okay, that's it, man. Thanks, dude. I appreciate the time. I was like, whatever. He goes, no, dude. He goes, I'm going to take you out to, he goes, you want to come out to Malibu and make a record?
Go, yes. That's amazing. Yeah. All right.
That was it. And I honestly, like 3 weeks later, we were doing pre-production in Limp Bizkit's house. And a month later, we were in Malibu in the mountains at Indigo Ranch making a record at the most beautiful place ever.
Yeah. And by the way, wasn't that drive up to Indigo Ranch? It's so fucked up. I remember having a bit of a panic attack. I beat that height thing by zip lining in Rio, but anyway, it was pretty crazy when you went around that hill.
Crazy, dude. The crazy thing about that road, it's scary on its own if you're just going up it with a normal person, right? But I was with Ross Robinson.
Yeah,
he was in a Viper. He had just got it, and Ross, it was either a BMW or a Viper. He'd travel up there every day, and he would just be full on molten metal. You know what I mean? Just pulling ass up there. And it was just scary. I was like, dude, I just got here. I'm going to die possibly. But I go, I don't care. I'm in Malibu, and I made a couple songs with Ross Robinson. So let's go.
Oh, man. And that place, it was like Neil Young used to record a bunch of shit there, and so many other people. And Korn did, I think, too. And,
Korn was there right before us. It was Korn, then Limp Bizkit, and then Cole did our record. And then Slipknot came right after we did.
Yeah. It was funny because the whole idea was, get groceries and get your booze and have everything up there already, because you don't want to fucking go down that hill again like today. We're gonna do it one time. Or
we do, man. We'd load up and just stay up there, and it was such a cool studio because it had a house, a little cabin kind of place
where everybody lived.
right out behind it, and the bands could stay in there, so you didn't have to travel far. You just get up and wake up, and Ross would make us. It was the first healthy drink I think I ever had in my life. He would go out, and we have an avocado tree farm, and he would just pick avocados, and he'd do this and mix it up with some protein stuff, and we'd have that every morning, and it was just a great day, man. It was a great experience. It was very cool.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. So, and that's when we met, right? You know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then Fred had told me about you guys because
Yep.
Fred and I, I love we were, I was on that album, Significant Other, and then also, in that video Rearranged and all that stuff. Had some great fun experiences, I love those guys. Like, a really funny story about like getting off a plane in Jacksonville once, and John Otto's cousin going, because it was a Christmas holiday, and it was one of the flight attendants had a kind of a hard on for me because there was a comedian whose name I won't mention that's really famous who had a family member die, and he got on a plane with me, and he had like Jack Daniels in his jacket. I'm like, dude, they can give it. I go, you can buy that on a plane, man.
Mm-hmm.
And he got so fucked up. Like I said, man, you don't judge anybody. We've all been there. And he ends up going in the back alley and throwing up all over the plane, right? And it's like one of the last Christmas flights. And the flight attendant wanted to have him like thrown in jail. Yeah. And I went, they brought him out in a wheelchair, and I explained, I said, he's a family member just died, man. He's having a really rough day. Well, she fucking hated me for that. And the funniest thing in the world was I wasn't drunk. I mean, I had a couple of drinks, but I was listening to my fucking Discman and just ripping to some tunes and compilations I made. And she was trying to start trouble with me. It was the weirdest thing one of the weirdest things I've ever experienced. But then when I'm getting out of the plane, she's trying to have me arrested, right? I didn't do fuck all, man. And so the cops come and they go, the sheriff, and he goes, Matt, I know you didn't do shit. He goes, I'm John Otto's cousin. He goes, get the fuck out of here before anybody else shows up. And I got out of there. And the Jacksonville, it was.
Yeah, you got lucky though, because you know how.
Dude, I know about Jacksonville. Yes, I do. Yeah, I know all about. Yeah. But it's an amazing thing, and you found an audience right away, Scooter, which was so cool. And then, the albums, you think about it, you got like at least 3 gold albums, right? Or 4? Yeah.
We have 2, and then we have a record for some things. So
yeah. Ways to Bleed on Stage and Year of the Spider, man. Those records were amazing, and so was the first one.
Really good, man. And yeah, it's we're so thankful for our fan base and the loyalty and the love that we get from them.
Yeah.
And we've always given it right back to them. So I think that's what matters. We show them appreciation just like they show us. Like the last tour that we did, me and Sam were, the whole crowd was singing every word, and you could see the emotion of people going through those times when they heard the songs and singing them. You could feel it, and it was a magical thing. And I was saying that we needed them as much as they needed us at that time on this last tour. And I think that just reaffirmed what we needed to continue cold and keep it going.
I'll tell you, when you were writing the songs, I started writing songs. I even came out and stayed at your house for a little bit, and we were. I know when you were working on it, and your thing is so genuine and real because you just it's always got to be from the heart, and and that's the thing that's been so cool. And when you did that show in Jack's at the theater where I introduced you guys, your fans flew in the Cold Army from all over the world.
All over the world. I was expecting, people to. It was implied that people come from all over the states, but then we had people from the UK, from Mexico, from Australia. It was overwhelming with that. Like I didn't expect that. It was beautiful.
Yeah. So it's pretty amazing. And people always ask me, they're like, all right, so Scooter wrote that song with Rivers Cuomo. I know which is Stupid Girl, which is on Year of the Spider, which is such a great album anyway. and that was a huge hit for you guys in alternative and in rock.
Yeah.
But what? I mean, you have the real story about how you wrote the basis of the song. And
well, we had the song with Cold. We had the guts of the song, the chords and things, and I didn't really know what to do with it, man, because it was a little different variation of what we normally do with Cold, the more moody things, you know. So I was really having a hard time coming up with a hook or a melody for the way to sing on it, and I just didn't know what to do. And around the year of the Spider time, when we were creating the record, we had a couple parties at our house. I think we were staying in Old Beverly Hills somewhere in LA, and we had quite a big house, and we were having these parties, and we had, I think, like Cypress Hill and Stained, and Rivers showed up that night too. So I was like, oh my God, because Rivers was one of my idols, you know, like that first time I heard the guitar.
You loved the first Weezer album, right? And Pinkerton and that stuff. You loved it.
It was like they were my idols when I was a young man growing up, and just the guitar sounds and everything. Weezer was probably one of my biggest fans. And so for Rivers to come over, because he was connected with Geffen, so it kind of happened with that, but we had kind of all, you know, started talking that night. And it was funny because there was a bunch of metal people. We had hip hop guys there, you know, like and
alternative guys, metal guys, right? Like hip hop guys.
And then we had Rivers, and Rivers just blew everybody's mind because all he talked about was heavy metal guitars for hours, you know, and everybody was like, dude, I had no idea. I was like, that's how he gets that dope heavy guitar sound. He knows what he's talking about. And so anyways, that kind of started that. And then he had left, and
he loves all the Van Halen, loves it all.
Yeah, right? Yeah, he loves metal. And so I started talking to Jordan, our you know, owner of Geffen at the time, and I was like, man, I have this song. I go, if we could send it to Rivers and just see what he feels about it. You know, we'd already met and everything was cool. And he heard it, and I said, it's kind of like a Weezer riff. And then I heard that he had said that, yeah, it's like Weezer on acid. Okay, I'll take it. And I go, well, will you work on the song? And he decided to do it. So yeah, he had created the lyrics, the verses, and the stupid girl part of the song. And I think all I did was come up with the chorus, the she's going away, what's wrong in my life today part.
Yeah.
But he had all the other lyrics to the song. And we kind of did it not thinking that it was going to be what it was. We were like, this is kind of a gimmick song. So, but it's cool because it's with Weezer. So
yeah. It's like, a great song, man. I love that song. Makes you feel good, man. You know, it's just one of those great tunes.
So when we did it, we didn't anticipate it being what it was. And as soon as the label heard it, of course, they were like, this is the song. This is the one we're going to run with. And it was a little of a heart attack for me because of all the songs that the emotional things that we had written through Cold's career and stuff like that. I kind of wanted one of those songs to be the one first, but that's just an artist.
Like Just Got Wicked and so many of the other songs.
Yeah, you know, but that's just me being young and whatever, and not knowing what Stupid Girl could have done. And when they were right, you know, that was one of the times the record labels were right, and it did well for us, and it put us on another level, and it elevated us, and we got us.
It's sort of like number 2 or it was
number 2 on Billboard and radio charts and all that stuff. So it did well enough to get us, you know, we started doing the late night shows and all that stuff from that song. And it launched, you know, it extended our career. It's the little things that happen throughout your career that just give you those extra moments that you can keep creating.
Yeah, fantastic. You know, and we think about that, and you know, so the records you did, 2 gold records, right? But you never ever stopped writing and doing what you do, and your fan base is, like I said earlier, so devoted. Let's talk about the latest album, because before we get into your favorite albums, because it's such a great record. And you know, you surprised me because you dedicated the album to me, man. And when I got it in the mail, and it meant so much to me that you did that. You know, because you know when I got hit by the car and you guys came to the hospital.
Yeah,
I know how much. It affected. You know, I saw how it affected you emotionally. I mean, so your friend.
What just you saying it again makes me emotional. Yeah, dude, the crazy thing about that is when it happened, I I heard about it on TMZ the next day. You know, it was weird. I heard it, and I didn't believe. I was like stunned. I went into shock. Like I was like, what? Just what? Matt got hit by a car. And of course, we were in Temecula, which is about an hour and a half away from LA. And I got with Lindsay, and as soon, you know, we couldn't really get a hold of you because it just happened, and you know, we didn't know if you were okay or what was going on. So I stayed up like a couple of days straight. I couldn't function really well. And then as soon as we knew you were able to have somebody there, me and Lindsay headed to LA. And it was so good to see you, man, because, dude, I was thinking I was going to walk into you like being all, you know, you couldn't speak. You were just going to be all wrapped up. I had the worst visions in my head of what it was going to be like. And then I walk in and you have the worst scar on your head, but you're just like, you're Matt. You know what I mean? You're like, hey, man, what's up?
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God. And then me and Lynn's got all crying and started getting emotional. And then Allie and Brian were there. It was really cool, man.
Yeah.
It was so good to see you that day. I can't even express.
Yeah, man. You know, I mean, that's what got me through, man, is you and my friend. I mean, people that love me, you know, like that was, I mean, I had the drive to fucking learn to walk again, but it was you, man. Like, you know, and Allison and everybody, and Renee, you know, everybody who was there, man. You know, and all the people that came, and Lindsay, of course. And you know what? It's fucking great to be alive, man. Even in times like this. It's the weirdest time in the world, but
yeah,
I'm so grateful that we're here, you know? And, and you know, I just want you to know that meant so much to me. And that was a very, very emotional moment of my life when you were crying in the hospital because, you know, it's just weird because, you know, I had an aneurysm when I was 15, 14, and it was so fucking weird. It was so alien. And I had fucking staples across my head on the other side of the head, and it's actually killed. But you know, we're fighters, man. That's what we do. You know, we fight.
I think you together probably had about 25 lives.
Yeah, two of us, right? It's true. Hey, so let's talk about the making of the latest album because there's so many great songs on that record, man.
Yeah,
and there's another Quiet Now, which you guys just put out a video for that I love. So let's talk about that song.
Yeah, we did a song called Quiet Now. I was in Phoenix and we were doing the drums for the record in Phoenix. And we were going to bring it back and do the rest of the record at our houses. And so we went out to the studio in Phoenix to do the record. And I had a good friend of mine, Matthew Kaiser. He's had a hard life and he's done, you know, he's been through a lot. And I remember his father had passed while we were creating that record. And at the time, I was just doing the music for the album. So I usually do the music first, and then a melody comes, or sometimes the melody comes with the music, and lyrics just appear from wherever they come from. They come to me. So I remember that Kaiser sent me a picture. His father had passed, and it was around the time of the Super Bowl, and I knew he was a football fan, and his father had lived in Phoenix where we were making the record, so he had to come out there to go to the funeral. So when he did, we asked him to come and spend Super Bowl Sunday with us, and you know, we made tacos and we tried to cheer him up, and we had a good day. We had a nice day. But then he sent me a picture of him and his father in the hospital, and it was him and his father holding hands. And one of our friends, Dave Jackson, a great photographer, had edited it for him and sent it to him. And then when he sent it to me, I saw that photo. And I had this really beautiful music written. And I didn't really know what the song was going to be about. But when I saw that photo, I knew that I started thinking of the times where Quiet Now is basically about the things when someone passes, one of your family members dies, somebody close to you, it's that empty space, that sound that you don't hear anymore. You know, if your kids, you don't hear your little kids in the other room, you don't hear the wrestling around the house. That was the Quiet Now part. So I remember how when I was young and I had a lot of friends that committed suicide, how painful not hearing them anymore was. So
I know, man.
You know. And
yeah,
so
man.
then I wanted to I wanted to make people feel what that was like maybe what Matthew was going through when he was telling me about his father. So sorry to get emotional. I get emotional.
No, that's why you and I are like fucking brothers, man. You know, I stay at your house and like, why we hanging?
Right.
Watch Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, and you know, like everything. You know what I mean?
And so, you know, when the song started coming out, the day you went away from me, the little lyrics and stuff, and it matched perfectly to what Kaiser was going through. I think I tried to do him justice with a song that could possibly help him. And it may have hurt the first time he heard it, but I know that him knowing that I at least attempted to do something to help him, I think it helps him now, you know?
Yeah, man. I will just tell you, you know, I want you to know, man, like, you and I have that connection where we're very emotional guys, man. And you know, and that's the thing with Chris Cornell was the same deal, man. You know, like we would. I remember when he had that stalker, and I was the only person he would let back in the dressing room. And we just talked about our emotions and dealing with everything.
Yeah.
I just know that, man. Like, I love that when you're bringing something that people can feel. You know, like something that people can really relate to in a song, like and the songs that you write. I mean.
Yeah.
And you know, I've always been completely fucking real and legit. And that's you know why I've always loved you. Besides, you're smart and you're fucking cool. We just have a good time, man.
It's very important to like that when to translate to people, not only to be real, but to even it's like I spent so much time on every little word and I think even if the words are simple, it's the delivery that you deliver the words with.
Yeah.
You know, create that emotion of it. So every little thing counts, and it's very important. If you're going to be an artist, I think you should really spend the time and not just put something out or just because they thought it sounded cool or think it sounds okay or something like that. If it doesn't really hit you and doesn't really work, then why the fuck put it out? You know what I mean? Sorry for that.
And I love that, man. You know, I got to tell you, you know, I know that we're all like getting a little stir crazy, obviously, because I want my friends like you to tour. I want to be at shows. But the thing that's getting us through, besides the people we love, is the albums and the music that we've always loved, right? It's like the thing, it's always there. So I asked you to pick 7 albums, you know, and I know 7's hard, but.
It was really hard. And you know what was harder, Matt? It's because it's you telling me to pick 7 records. Like, I think if a regular person just told me to pick 7 records, I wouldn't have thought about it as much. But then I'm like, you're the vast, you know, you're the big encyclopedia of knowledge of every band and everything and all this. And I was like, okay, Pinfield's asking me to pick 7 records. Do I pick my 7 favorite records? Or I'm just going to pick the records that I think kind of influence my musical career. You know, so they might not be my records of all time.
Totally real, like, you know, and that's the thing. And, you know,
that when I heard them, they were pivotal on what changed my life. You know, so
yeah, and you know, the first record you picked was Bauhaus in the Flat Field.
Yes,
and you know, I love that you did that because I was at that show in Jersey in City Gardens in Trenton. The bartender was Jon Stewart.
Yeah,
and
wild.
And they put it in the back room. In other words, it was like, it wasn't where the big stage was.
Yeah.
And, so, you know, and I'd known like Telegram Sam. I'd known the covers, like Telegram Sam's T-Rex cover. It was way before Ziggy, but shit was cool. And they had a song "Kick in the Eye" that I fucking loved.
I love Kick in the Eye.
Yeah, it was just so cool. And they were really
about Bauhaus to me, man, the first time I heard Bauhaus, it was in the Flat Fields. It was the God, what's it? That's the, I forget the first song on there, but the bass line on that.
Fear on there, or is it what else is on? What's on that record?
First song on there, but I know the first one, the bass line on that song was the most grungiest, nastiest guitar bass sound thing I've ever really heard. You know, when I was a kid, I was probably 13, 14 years old, and to hear that. It just inspired me. And not only that, then I saw them and I was like, they're like vampires with my.
And you remember when they were in The Hunger, like with Bowie?
Yeah, right.
And we were like, wow. It was so cool.
That's a great song.
Peter Murphy, man, right? You know?
It was so cool. So yeah, that whole thing, I really got wrapped up in the Bauhaus for a long time, and it was very influential on me going down. You know, I'd grown up on like Rolling Stones and Jimi Hendrix listening with my parents and stuff like that. So I really hadn't found my own music yet, and I think really listening to that, it was so anti all of that, and just so cool. I think I was just like I got drawn to it, and I got, you know, taken over by it.
Yeah, and Stigmata Martyr was like the song on there. It was like super dark.
Yeah,
that I love.
That bass sound on Stigmata Martyr, I like that. That whole, it's just so, it was something, it's punk rock, but it wasn't, you know, it was,
it
had
kind of like Killing Joke, the same thing. Well, they're not the same, obviously, but they're also very dark. But there's all these other influences, and it's such a cool record, you know. And it's funny because, you know, when you sent me the list, and I looked at it, I'm like, oh, The Spy in the Cab. Like, I hadn't thought about that song in a very long time.
Oh my God, I love that song. Such a beautiful song. It's a track song.
You know, it's all those early singles too, like The Passion of Lovers and
and
all that stuff was.
Well, I mean, what about Love and Rockets? You know, they came from all that thing, right?
I love those albums. All those albums are so great.
The whole thing was just, it was just cool. They were all superstars.
Yeah, Kevin Haskins, I ran into him at the Idols and Fontaine's DC show, and that show was badass. And he's like, Matt, he goes, how about your fucking accident? We were just catching up. And I told him, I go, man, I fucking love those Love and Rockets records. Well, I mean, maybe you and Daniel, you guys should at least talk about doing that again. But I mean, obviously Bauhaus, we're going to play the Cruel World Festival. We'll talk about that later. But man, I love those guys. The funniest story about me and Peter Murphy is he comes in to do the morning show in New York. And at the end of the show, he comes up, he kisses me on both cheeks and goes, Matt, you've been kissed by a goth. It's just brilliant. I mean, Cuts You Up, all those fucking songs, Indigo Eyes, cover of Pere Ubu's Final Solution. That shit was great.
But that's exactly what I would expect Peter Murphy to say. You know? I would expect him to say something cool like that, which is awesome.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing. So, you know, and so I'm looking through these records, which I love, the stuff that you picked. And, you know, Interpol, Our Love to Admire. What a great album cover, by the way, too.
Oh, that album was crazy, right? Like, that's a shocking kind of album. You're like, what's going on there? But yeah, it's a great. The first song on that record, the one that Our Love to Admire. Yeah, it's amazing. No, Pioneer to the Falls is the first song on there. And I remember hearing that song. And dude, there was something that I lost in my music career throughout my life. And when I was a really little kid, my dad used to listen to the Bee Gees a lot. Not the Bee Gees, the Bee Gees, but the Beach Boys. And they had this guitar sound, you know, they had that surfer guitar kind of sound, right?
Yeah, and Gun Devil played on a lot of those records, man.
Yeah, I loved that sound so much when I was a young kid. And, you know, I was a surfer throughout my teens, you know, it was a religion to me. So that's all I did. And the ocean was a big part of my life throughout. It still is to this day. I still really can't even write lyrics unless I'm driving along the coast. I have to be close to the ocean when I do that. So when I heard Interpol a few years ago, I remember just that sound of their guitars, you know, and I remember I was like, oh my, it just brought me back to the beach. It made me, but like a cool, dark beach, you know?
Yeah.
And then I heard the El Pintor record and All the Rage Back Home. That song just blew my mind. And so they put a video out for it. And the video was about just a guy surfing. And I go, I knew it, right?
That's great. That's
right. I go, there's that connection. Like, it was the whole thing. And I found out Paul Banks had surfed a few times and stuff. He loved it.
Paul. Those guys are great. Carlos, who was the original bass player. I mean, I love Carlos. He's fucking hang out for wild. But you know, I also love the Heimlich Maneuver on that record. Like, I know it's a single, but when I moved to the West Coast, one of my ex-girlfriends was like, I fucking never want to hear that song again, because how are things on the West Coast? I love that. I love it. I mean,
that song is
starts that song. It's brilliant. It's so great. You know?
Yeah, see, they're the epitome of cool to me. Interpolers, like the whole band. It's just the whole thing with the suits and just the way they present themselves, the cadences of the way they talk when they're doing interviews. The whole thing is just they're dope. They're a cool band.
Yeah, I love those guys, man. Yeah. Speaking of guys that I love, man, yeah, Georgia guys, Manchester Orchestra is the next record you picked, and you know they're just, you know, they're such a great band and incredible people.
I had a big dilemma with that band, with picking that record, because it was either that this was one of those records where I loved alternative music throughout my life, and I loved heavy music too. And Weezer was one of the first bands to, you know, put that mix together with the heavy guitar sound but the cool alternative style. And it was either a Weezer record or Manchester Orchestra record. And I remember when I first heard the Virgin song for Manchester Orchestra and the little kids singing that melody, and then all of a sudden the silence, and then just the heaviest guitar sound of all time comes in and just blows up. It's like an explosion. I just go, immediately one of my favorite bands, you know?
Yeah,
so
they're great. Have you met or seen them live yet?
You know, few years ago, they were playing at a club close to our house, about an hour away, and me and Lindsay, my daughter, and her mom went to see them. And it was probably one of the first concerts that I had been to in 10 years. Because I don't really go out. I'm a really reclusive guy. But I had to, my daughter's, you know, I love Manchester Orchestra, and me and Cameron, my daughter, always listened to Hope and Leia. We listened to that record religiously, so we loved them. And I found out they were playing, so we went to the show, and we get there, and Foxing was opening up for them, which was just even better because they're such a dope new band.
Yeah.
So we get to the show, and Lindsay was with her boyfriend at the time, and I was with Cameron, and we're sitting around waiting. We're an hour and a half before the show starts, and all of a sudden, Cameron, we had eaten a little stuff at the bar there, and then she had started getting a little sick. And I was like, oh no, what's happening? So she had gotten kind of food poisoning while we were sitting there. So we had to, right before the show started, we had to leave. So I didn't get to see him. Lindsay had stayed there and watched him, so it was a great show. But yeah, I missed that show. But I'll see him again. They tour a lot.
And you know what? You hear about the show they did in the cave? Like they did like completely underground. That was just the coolest.
I didn't hear that, but that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's, you know, my friend said it was amazing. You know, the guy who used to run the alternative station in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
It was part of like his marriage. Like he wanted to get married, and his honeymoon was going to that show underground because he loved Manchester Orchestra.
Oh, wow.
Cool. Yeah, my friend Aaron. It's a great story. Amazing. You know, he's such a good dude. Anyway, so the next record you picked, you and I love Soundgarden. There's no question about it.
Yes.
And everybody has a favorite album, and you picked Louder Than Love, right? So
well, I picked Louder Than Love because that was the first record that I heard from Soundgarden. You know, it was when me and Sam were kids. I think we were 19 or something, maybe 18. And he had pulled up in his Jeep, and we were listening to Louder Than Love, and then we saw the concert. We had a DVD of it, and we put it in. And when I saw it, it was life-changing, because that's exactly what we already were. Like Grundig, we had named our band Grundig. We played music like that. Like we played slow, grungy. We thought we were like the Southern Black Sabbath or something, you know, with a way worse voice.
Yeah.
Was me. But when we heard Soundgarden, then everything clicked. I was like, oh shit, we got to get to Seattle. Like this is it. This is what we do, and it's all happening over here. We're in the wrong place. But yeah, that was an emotional moment. It was a magical thing too, because it just, you know, everything sound, you know, the Super Unknown, every record that they made after that was very.
I love the records, all of them. You know,
yeah, it was amazing.
It was a lot.
Cool. The way they just played slow and just powerful, but then with Chris Cornell's vocal, it was angelic. just elevated everything. You know, and not to not say that, you know, Mudhoney, Tad, Mother Love Bone, Pearl Jam, all those bands that came from that area were very integral in what we did. Pearl, you know, the whole thing was just, we felt like we were at home, but we were so far away from them.
Yeah, and it was great because it was a good time. I liked hearing a lot of guitars. Don't get me wrong, I love synths too. I love, you know.
Yeah, me too. And I grew up on. I was a synth guy. A lot of the bands I picked earlier have synths, you know. But
yeah, I mean, you know, everybody from Gary Newman to like OMD and Soft Cell, and I mean,
Soundgarden was like, it was like new blood. You know what I mean? When you first heard it, you were like, "Oh, this is new. This is cool. It's dope." So,
you know, I gotta ask you. So the next one is a band that, you know, we've been always, you know, become great friends. And funniest thing in the world was before I got hit by the car, I was climbing those Hollywood stairs, 180 up, 180 down, just fighting a way and trying to, like, I get to the top, and there's Ian walking his dog. He didn't see me in a while. He goes, Matt, you trying to scare me? What are you fucking doing the stairs? It was funny. You know, I love him. You know, and Billy I see quite often. But you picked Dreamtime. Originally, you said live at the Lyceum. Which one do you want to pick?
Honestly, you know, it was off the Dreamtime record, really, and it was more Southern Death Cultish kind of stuff before the cult became
Walker, and, you know,
that stuff like that. But the
Resurrection Joe, yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
you know?
the problem, it was your fault kind of, because it was MTV that played that concert. It was they played live at the Lyceum concert every Saturday night. There was a concert on MTV, and it was random things. Live at the Lyceum came on one night. And it was the cult before the Love record and all that. And dude, it was the coolest thing. It was probably still to this day. I watched it the other night when I was going through it again, just to see the video. I go, is this available now? So I Googled it and watched the Live at the Lyceum concert again. And just the beginning of that concert, where they do, I think 83rd Dream is the first song. And it's just so dark and cool. And, you know, you hear the crowd chanting. They're doing some kind of like I don't know if it was some kind of spiritual soccer chant or what was going on.
Yeah,
but it was
UK.
It was in the UK, and it was some weird rumbling, witch-sounding, haunting thing going on in the background as the cult was coming on stage. And then when Ian Astbury comes on stage, and this is before he had his really long black hair and all that stuff. He was very punk rock, alternative. All of them were. And he comes out with a bottle of wine, and he's pretty shitty. You know, he's pretty messed up, and he just sits there and just goes. They go through the songs, and dude, you could just tell that they're just having a great time. But it was such a cool, eerie, wicked experience. I mean, it was like, I imagined, like, back in the day, I was all into the darker things, so I was like, it's like a bunch of witches on stage, and they're all together and they're playing instruments, and it was beautiful. So from that moment on, I just fell in love with the cult, and I became like through the Love record, and even with Electric, even I know they changed the sound with that, I wrote it hard for a while with the cult.
Yeah, man. You know, and Sonic Temple, there's great stuff. And you know, it's funny. I love those guys, man. And I told Ian and Billy I would come introduce them. This was me when I think I was still doing South by Southwest live, 8 hours a day for DirecTV, and it was so fun. You know, like, I mean, fuck it. If it's about music, I'll do it for 24 hours. And I introduced him on stage, and then I'm standing on the side of the stage, and you know, Ian, he doesn't give a shit what he says, and I love him for that. But it was also the funniest thing ever. He goes, "Hey, you fucking indie rockers, Matt Pinfield died for your fucking sins." You know, like, it was just so funny. And then he goes, "Did you just hear that?" I'm like, "I don't know." He said something a little more rude, like, "Are you indie?"
Yeah.
And you know what? I love indie rock. I'm like, you know me, I'm a total nerd. I mean, that's what I mean. I love all kinds of music. I was wearing a Neutral Milk Hotel shirt the other, you know, like, I love everything. I always have, you know. So, but that was pretty wild because I was like, holy shit, man. But he just I love him. You know, he's been a good guy. You know, we spent a lot of time together in New York. You know, you know, when he lived there, and he and I were both going through a breakup at the same time, and it was really important. You know, the next album you picked is The Cure, one of my favorites, man. The Head on the Door.
Yeah.
And I fucking love that record because I mean it opens with "In Between Days,"
Yes.
which may be my favorite Cure song ever. Or
So
I don't
many
know. The
songs.
Walk is, you know, I mean, there's so many I love.
Yeah,
you know?
I went through that record the other day too because, like I said, those were moments in my these records were moments in my life that were pivotal to me. So when I first heard, even though that was the first Cure record I heard, like "Standing on the Beach" came out or was out, and I just didn't know about it, but I had gotten it
Right after, yeah.
right after that, and that's when "The Forest" and all those songs, and I just go, oh yeah, this is just the best band that's ever been created. So, but when I first heard "The Head on the Door," it was the song "Between Days," and then "The Baby Screams." When I heard "The Baby Screams" song, I was like, "Oh no, this is other level." And it was just
a night like this is like always been
right. And that was another thing. A night like this was crazy because it was one of the cool alternative bands doing a total love song, kind of. You know what I mean? It was just kind of They were one of the darker bands, but then they to write this beautifully structured love song that's timeless. You know, to this day, that song still has its weight and it's perfect. It's just a beautifully crafted song.
Yeah, it is so great. And I love Push.
Yes.
In the Blood. Like that record is just, it's one of my favorite Cure records.
Very cool record. That record, out of all the records, that record has a lot of different sounds on it. It's got the dark Cure, it's got the strummy Cure, the poppyish Cure. Like I think that's a full on.
Close to Me's on there, right? So it's like everything's on. Yeah,
it's got every different Cure faction is, you know, elevated in that record for sure.
You know, I love that record. You know, Robert's always been really super nice to me. And you know, the first time I met him, I went to interview him. I called from the college radio station. You know, I would use their phones because long distance in that time would be fucking, you know, so much money. So I called Chris Perry, their manager, who ran also, you know, produced the Jam and, you know, ran Fiction Records. I like, Chris, I want to interview the Cure, man. I'm on this Rutgers college radio station. He goes, okay, well, give me your tape recorder. So me and one of my best friends, Robbie Schittner, who also loved the Cure, it was right after the Love Cats. So it was like they put out these three Pornography and then those three singles. Let's go to bed.
Pornography.
The Walk and the Love Cats.
Yeah.
And I witnessed a press conference, and I'm talking about like respectable magazines and newspapers, and I saw some of the stupidest fucking people asking the dumbest fucking questions ever. Yeah. And you know, but there's a lot of great journalists. So I want to like say that because, you know, I'm friends with so many of them and I love them, and they're music freaks. But that day, the people that were interviewing the Cure, Lil Povers and Robert were sitting there at a table, and he was getting fucking unbelievably irritated. Like, why are you so depressed? And like all this fucking shit. Yeah. So I was a part of the press conference. So I'm sitting there with my friend, and the road manager walks up to Robert after these people leave, and I could tell he's so fucking pissed off. And he goes, and they go to, hey, Chris said that guy Matt Pinfield is going to interview. And Robert takes a milk carton and crushes it in his hand, and he throws it across the room. Oh. And I'm like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do here? And I go, I remember the Cult Hero single. And I walked up behind Robert and said, Robert, listen, man, I don't give a fuck about the Cure, but when you talk about your mailman. And he went, it changed the game, the whole mood. Because they made this record with their fucking mailman, which is funny. Like, I dig you and I'm a Cult Hero. From that moment on, like, the mood rose, and it was so much fun. I mean, we just had a great time. So it was just like finding that connection. You know, it was, you know, a college kid, you know. But I loved them. I saw those tours like 17 Seconds and Faith. I mean, A Forest was just like insane.
I saw none of those tours to this day. I've still never seen the Cure in concert, which is insane because it seems like every time that they're on a tour, I'm in a different area or doing a record or something like that, and I've just never been blessed. Yeah,
you know, I love them so much. There's actually a picture of me and them on a 120-minute site, like facing the other way on the wall. You know, Robert, he goes, they were doing that, like they were doing a kind of Grateful Dead thing where they change the set every night. And he goes, well, what do you want to hear tonight? You come to the show and go, how about The Perfect Girl from Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me? It was great. I don't have to play anything on it. It's all keyboards. And it was really funny. But I will just say Went to the show here. They did in Pasadena. Ended up getting, on the stage. It was me, Peter Katzis, who you know well.
Yeah.
And his son from Deftones.
Yeah.
And was like singing every lyric, man. It was a really, really fun time, man, And my leg was so fucked up, so I was like sitting on a road case, on the side of the stage, which was beautiful. But long history with those guys. So the next record you picked is one of my favorite records. And I was just talking to a friend of mine in Dublin Saturday night because he played for John Cale's band, the Balzays. Friends, he's younger than everybody in the Patti Smith group, but they're all from like my area. Mm-hmm. And I was explaining to him that when I was interviewing you two for All That You Can't Leave Behind in their studio, I looked out the window at the bog, and it was where they shot the Gloria video. And I'm sitting there interviewing Bono and The Edge, and I'm like, holy shit. Because Gloria was like, I loved October, which, nobody gives that album credit.
Yeah, dude.
Down, Fire.
Gloria, that's the song, though. I mean, when I was a kid and MTV played Gloria, that was the battle cry. Like, I was like, these guys are out on a bog in the middle of wherever, just killing it. And the first time I heard The Edge play guitar was on Gloria, and just, dude, his style with the delays and everything like that, that was a pivotal moment for Cold because that changed everything. I wanted everything to have delay on it since then, and I still do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's such a...
Like I told you when I met Sam, that I Will Follow was the first song that I really knew how to play on guitar.
Yeah.
Really just a couple strings, and I think I only had 4 strings on the guitar at the time, but I could play that song. And yeah, man, that whole thing changed my life. And there was something so a contained rebellion in that music, like there was that they were very rebellious, but it was so perfectly formatted, the songs.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
Fall Down. You remember I Fall Down with that piano intro? I love that fucking song so much, man. Like that record, Rejoice. It's a record they don't, for some reason, they don't have the love for it that the rest of us do. But I still love and Stand By October, man, all the way.
But Under a Blood Red Sky was, that one where they had I Will Follow, Gloria, the whole thing, like that.
Party Girl, which they wrote in 15 minutes, and I love that song so much.
Yeah, and that was another thing. Like that was another MTV concert, one of the Saturday night things. Like I saw that concert, and I was just like, it was impressive, man, and it was life changing.
Yeah, they were seriously just such a great band in every way, and
you know what's weird about your show right here, Matt? Is that, dude, it's crazy because it's like me and you are just chatting like we always do.
Yeah, we're just talking like we always do. That's what's so cool. This is a real deal thing. Yeah,
it's funny because I don't feel like we're being broadcasted right now, but we are. So it's kind of funny that we're just doing that.
Yeah. Well, and I love it, man. And yeah, Under Blood Red Sky, Party Girl always made me feel. It used to be called Trash Trampoline and the Party Girl, and it was a B-side of a single that I loved because I played on college radio called A Celebration, which I guess in retrospect I don't love the song, but I mean it was great. And Party Girl, Steve Lillywhite and Bono both told me wrote it in 10, 15 minutes. It's like they were in the studio. It's just like. It was, and it's so good. It's got such a great feel, and the best version is the version from Under Blood Red Sky. It's just
they have Party Girl, we have Stupid Girl. I get it. It's one of those. It's just a thing.
Oh, great, man. Scooter, man. I want to thank you so much for doing this with me, and I want you to know, I know we're just like, I wish I could see you right now in a venue. I wish everybody was on tour, but we'll fight through it like we always do, right?
We'll get there, man. If everybody just hangs in there and follows the rules right now, I think that's the best thing to do. And I know it's hard, it sucks, but we all have to team up together to make this happen so we can get out there faster and start this up again. Just get our lives back.
Yeah. Oh God, I know. And I know it's going to be rough because I know there are going to be major issues with the economy, which is why we're doing this for Music Cares and just trying to help out everybody. It's awesome, man. If people knew, and they do know, I think they know now, but how much goes into a band on tour or everything that, you know, like it's just
It's a
all
lot.
people's lives. It's so, you know, it's so important. And, you know, everybody's having a rough time, but this is why you just have to buckle down and stay as strong as possible, man. You know, even though sometimes we're like, you get really bummed out and, you know, but the music gets us through. And that's what I'm doing here with this thing, In a Lonely Place, which is a great name, by the way, right? I mean, you don't even have to.
Told me the name the other night on the phone. I think we talked at like 3 a.m, and you said the name, and I immediately was like, "Yes, that's it. Like, keep that name."
Yeah,
it's the perfect name.
yeah. And then my friend Cliff Galbraith, you know, I've been friends with forever. He made that logo, and I love it because it looks like the man with the golden arm, like Frank Sinatra. It's the same.
It kind of reminded me of a Split Ends cover or something. I don't know if I.
Yeah. We love Split Ends. Speaking of that, Neil Finn, man, all those guys.
We talked about Split Ends before, our affinity for Split Ends.
Yeah, but you know, my oldest daughter, Jessica, we used to drive in a car, and her and I would sing History Never Repeats and do that harmony together. We would just sit and we would, you know, it was so awesome.
I love Dirty.
Just a beautiful moment.
Every Split End record is one of my favorite records.
Yeah.
So I put that on the list, but I had removed that for, I think, Bauhaus, because I think Bauhaus was more pivotal for me. But Split Ends was definitely a defining band for me also.
They were brilliant. Yeah, you know, I love them. Scooter, thanks for doing this today, man. And I want everybody to remind everybody to check out the new video for Quiet Now.
Check it out. And I'd like to give props to my buddy Patrick Hooven from Ghost Motel. You know, he's a great artist. He had a song called Hush that I saw with just a ghost. His band was playing, the ghost was traveling through really slowly. I saw the video, I was so inspired by it. I contacted him to help me direct the video. So he did his part in Germany with the girl, and then me and my buddy Dave Jackson shot my part here in the States, and they both did such a great job that, you know, it came together perfectly and seamless. So I'd like to thank those guys for making that video for us. And it's a very emotional video, and it connects with a lot of people right now because of, you know, it's basically...
It's quiet now.
She's grieving over the loss of her child, except for she's confined to a space, you know? So I think a lot of people, even if you haven't suffered a loss like that, just being in that situation and the whole vibe of the song and the content, it definitely relates to what's happening right now. That wasn't a COVID cough.
Yeah, no, but yeah, no, mine neither. You know, no COVID cough.
No COVID.
I haven't coughed at all on this show. It's it's surprising. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't coughed in a while. I bet I'm coughing today.
Listen, Scooter, it's so great to have you on, man. And oh wait, we didn't even talk about quickly. I know because they're trying to get me to rap.
Yep.
But I want to say, you got the #1 active rock song in the country right now, in the U.S., through Billboard and everywhere else, with Breaking Benjamin. Just talk to me about that. That's the last thing we got to talk about.
Me and Ben reconnected. We were rehearsing for the Broken Human tour. Nick, our guitarist, are good friends with him. And, you know, we used to play with Ben back in the day when we first started out. Ben had called us down. They were doing a big show. It was like 20,000 people. And he called us down. We were just rehearsing after 8 years for our first time rehearsing to go on tour. We had just gotten there like a week, so we really hadn't got into it yet. And then Ben calls and goes, "Hey," he goes, "I heard you guys are up on the mountain. Why don't you guys come down to the show and play Just Got Wicked?" And, you know, at first I thought he was asking me to come down. His band was going to play, and I was just going to get on and sing the song. You know, like a normal thing, an invite to a show would be like that. But no, he wanted to stop in the middle of his set and bring Cold out onto the stage and play Just Got Wicked. And he was going to sing it with us, but it was definitely a strange thing. And I didn't feel we were prepared. So I was like, absolutely not. We're not doing that. That's insane. I'm not doing it. And, you know, Nick and Lindsay, they talked me into it. And the next day we hit them up around noon. And we were like, all right, dude, we're just going to come do sound check and see how it sounds. And we came and did sound check, and we still fucked it up, but it was okay. We were like, you know what? It is what it is. Let's just get up there tonight and do it. And when we did, we had a great, you know, reception with all the fans that had saw we were there, and we played. And it, you know, rekindled mine and Ben's relationship, and we had started talking a lot again. And we just sit on the phone for hours at night talking. And I said something about him doing a song with Cold one day, and he goes, "Dude, you know what?" He goes, "I'm doing this acoustic record." He goes, "And I have like Spencer from Under Oath. I have Adam. Lacey's on it. There's a lot of cool people that I admired throughout my life. He goes, you're one of the biggest inspirations. He goes, it was a bunch of older Breaking Benjamin songs. He goes, but there's this one song called Far Away. And he goes, no one's ever heard it before. And he goes, and I couldn't find the right person to sing on it. He goes, but then when we reconnected, I knew it was you. And he goes, it'd be perfect. So he goes, I'm going to send it to you and you let me know what you think. And he goes, I know how you are. He goes, he goes, you have to feel it to do it. So if you don't love it, just let me know. And he sent me the song and it was just him doing it. And I think by the time the end of the first chorus, I pressed stop. I was like, it's beautiful. Right. So I called him. I said, dude, we have to do this. And yeah, we recorded, me and Nick was there and he recorded us. He recorded me doing it in a couple of nights at the studio that we were rehearsing for the tour at. I sent it to Ben and his producer, and yeah, it worked out, man. And it sounded great. So it was very cool. And I'm very thankful for Ben and his whole band and his whole team for setting that up.
Number one, I was so happy, man. Just seeing your name on the chart, breaking
it was cool
with Scooter World. I was so pumped about it, man. You know,
so what better to be there with than Breaking Ben? I mean, they're all such sweet people in a nice outfit. You know, the whole
Wilkesboro, Pennsylvania, man. You know, it's wild. Man. Yeah, you know where they're from. I remember. I know we got to go, but I remember when I was a kid, there was a major flood, like a dam burst in Wilkesboro, Pennsylvania, and our old next door neighbors who we were best friends with, you know, lost their house, and people lost everything. There were coffins being, because of the water pressure, like going down the street from the cemetery. Pretty crazy shit, right? And I just remember going to that town and helping out this family called the Eastons that we were tight with, and that town will always, sadly for me, I'll remember the flood and everything that people lost. But you know what? We band together and you know what? We were digging out, like helping them with HUD, you know, helping them get their house together, because that's the way my dad was, my mom, and like family. And I remember none of the album covers, because of the water, survived, but there was a pile of vinyl, and we were listening to like Creedence, and it was just fucking cool. You know, a long time ago. But
that town produces so much great music. You know, like you said, one of the University Drive, for instance, is one of the bands that we took out on tour. The T-shirt I'm wearing right now, Ed and Angelo and those guys, their music was it was a beautiful record they had written. And you know, we had a director do the Without You video from Wilkes-Barre, and his name was Billy, and his band was insane. They have something going on there right now. I was just talking to Ed about it the other day. There's something about the indie bands there that it's happening right now. You know, it's a
cool place. It's good people, man. Good people that love music and want to be creative. Scooter, thanks for doing this today, man. I love you, brother. And you know, there's nothing better than hanging out with your friends, talking about music. And you know, for everybody else that's watching, we hope you're entertained, because that's what we do. We love it. And, you know, it's just, but it's getting us through. It always does. You know, that's the most important thing. And music cares. And we are here, and, you know, and Linda Perry and Carrie Brown and Chris Trevero and Nate and Aaron and everybody who's working on this, Rick Krim, everybody's helping out, man. You know, I feel, and Renee Mata, you know, I'm just feeling very, very grateful that I'm able to do this. And man, you know, it's just like, it's like you and I hanging on your couch, you know?
I know. I was saying it's strange, but it's really cool. I like it a lot. So yeah. I felt comfortable through the whole thing. I didn't feel like I was being interviewed. I thought we were just talking like we normally do.
Well,
but I love you, brother. And I'm glad you're still alive from your wreck and everything. Okay. I'm glad you're doing really well. And the new show.
Gratitude is everything, man, you know? Been through a lot of shit in my life, as you know. We, you know, all of us have, but I'm grateful to be here, and this is just another part of the journey. You know, it's just that it's the first time you're really isolated, but it's fine, because you know we'll get through. And at least this contact, you know, being with you here today, and you know, working with Music Cares and the We Are Here people, it's just keeps you going. You know, most important. But I love you, brother. So I'm gonna get going, man, and And this will be up online. You know, I mean, it's live right now, but it will be available for people to watch.
Cool.
And I appreciate it so much, Scooter. Congratulations on that #1 record, man. And
Dude, thank you, man.
we will be in an elevator again.
Yes.
In the future.
We gotta get another dope picture together like that.
Yeah, that picture like
recreated that one. That was really
in our suit it's That picture is great. From the Grammys 2 years ago. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite shots.
All right, brother. Well,
and David Starkey, we got to give him some love too, always. You know, him.
Yes, always.
All my Jack's brothers. All right, well, listen. Take care, Scooter. I want to say to everybody, thank you for watching. You know, tomorrow we have Des Rocks. Danny is great. A young artist that I just love very much. And then on Friday we have Mark Foster of Foster the People. The week after we have Joey from the Pixies, Howie Weinberg, AWOL Nation, Youngblood. We're just going to keep doing it. We're just, you know, as long as we are here, we'll just keep bringing great people on and talking about their favorite records. So thanks so much for watching. Keep the music in your heart. It's called In a Lonely Place. And I'll be back with you tomorrow at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. Thanks for watching.